Welcome in, everybody. Another 5 minutes with Sean. We are here in February. We'll be kicking this month off with a brand new segment for the show. I'm excited for this. I've been working on this for a while. I've been thinking about it for even longer than I've been working on it. And so we're going to be bringing you guys some ongoing, killer, up-to-date training in the industry from a man who lives it every single day. Those of you who don't know him, you will after today, and you should going forward. Trey Hudson, how are you, man?
Hey, Sean, I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for being on. The new segment we're going to be kicking off is Training with Trey. We're going to just hop into a topic Trey thinks is important. I am nothing if not a student of the craft, so I will have questions, and we're going to get into it. So, Trey, what are we training on today?
You know, I think you'll hear a lot of talk about, especially in the auto business, about us getting back to some of the fundamentals. So one of the places that I wanted to start at was at the very start of the fundamentals, which is the meet and greet, which is that enthusiasm, how we greet that guest when they walk into the showroom floor.
The meet and greet. I love it. You mentioned showroom floor right away. Hopefully in this discussion, we'll have a discussion about what happens when we meet and greet someone digitally, right? What happens with that internet lead, that internet opportunity? So when you think meet and greet, right, number one step to anything that happens, what comes to mind first? From you and I have been doing this almost the exact same length of time. You've been in retail longer than I have. I ventured out a couple years ago. But what comes to mind for you first when you think of meet and greet? I'll tell you mine after that.
You know, I think it's enthusiasm. I kind of want to share a quick story with you because it's good that we're having this conversation, because I'm in the process of looking for a mattress.
Okay.
And obviously, so I went to the furniture place, and I assume they're on commission.
Yep.
But believe it or not, I work at a car dealership for for these years of my life, and I still get nervous whenever I go in and I shop for something when I'm going to be greeted by a sales rep, right? Because I'm just like, I kind of want to just go in there and I want to look around, I want to shop, and I really don't know anything about mattresses, so I'm probably gonna need some help when I get in there. But so I walk in, and I already got a little anxiety, because I'm just like, oh, I hope I get somebody really cool, or I hope they just let me walk around confused and not know exactly what I'm looking at, right? And so I walk in, and I'm greeted by this sales lady, and she just has the biggest smile on her face.
Yep.
And she welcomes me in, and then it's just all of a sudden I was just like, you know what? I relaxed. And she slowly started walking me through the process. And the more she walked me through the process, the more I got comfortable. And obviously, I wasn't there necessarily to buy a mattress at the moment. And I think she got that impression. However, she made me feel like I was the most important, customer that she had spoken with today. She answered all my questions. And when I did have questions, she recommended models for me. I was laying on mattresses. I was checking out the product. And when I left with just one of the best experiences. And so, I may not buy a mattress tomorrow. I may buy one a year from now. I may buy one, a few days from now. But however, I do know where I'm going to buy that mattress. And I do know the young, sales lady that I'm going to ask for because of the experience I had when I was just in.
So, dude, my wife and I were in the exact same position and in the exact same environment. And it's no coincidence that you and I this happens to. We walk in and we meet the coolest guy on the floor. This guy was just super laid back. He was like, look, y'all look for mattresses once every 10 years. Let's just make it easy. Go start jumping around. We were like, What are you talking about? Like jumping around. And so, no, dude, I'm totally with it. And actually we needed to replace. So we replaced our own bedroom mattress. And then we have a guest room. We don't ever lay on the guest room mattress. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens I had to do it one day because she wasn't feeling well. So I decided to get out of her way. And I'm like, hey, babe, that mattress is bogus. Like, we can't have people sleeping on this thing. And so we rolled back to the same place, the same cat, right? His day off. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, when's his next day at work? I'll be here. And I shit you not, Trey. Salesman looks me dead in the eyes. He goes, this happens all the time with our guy, Tom. He gets 100% credit for whatever you and I do today.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, all right, you can prove that to me. I'm like, I'm not,
Yeah,
I don't want this
right.
half deal, dude. I don't want any half deals. I want a full deal. And he's like, Sean, I can show you the commission man's name right on the receipt. I promise Tom's going to get all the credit for this. And we were like, all right. I'm coming back in a week from now. I'm going to find Tom, make sure he got the credit, right? So, but yeah, I'm the same way. As much as I'm a lay down when someone's selling to me, if I'm meet and greeted with that smile, that enthusiasm, and that desire to listen, I can't put it above anything else, Trey. I almost put it above product knowledge because I've probably done my research to some extent. I'm just looking to finite some of the details on most shit in life. So, and I was never a product expert. I will tell this joke to anyone who will listen. I sold cars 15 years. I don't know shit about cars. Nothing. If it wasn't listed on the Maroni sticker for a new car, Trey, I'm fucked. I got no clue, dude, because I made it about being your friend, helping you find whatever it is you desire to find. That was it.
And before we had this conversation, I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about salespeople that I've worked with in the past. And, I've had some salespeople on the staff that product knowledge was not very good. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
But yet they were still tops of the board. And it was one of those things that was puzzling because I was just like, but then in the flip, you would have people that knew everything about the product, but couldn't close a car deal.
Correct.
And so there's a difference there and you have to find that balance. But if you can connect with the customer and you can, from the experiences that we both shared, if you can get that customer to, to feel special, connect with them, your probability of selling them a vehicle, even with some faults you may have during the sale, they're still going to want to purchase from you and buy from you because they like you. Right.
Agreed. And that was one of the lessons I learned very early on at the Men's Warehouse. One of the first things they ever taught you was just have the smile, have the greet, and then know where to go. Know what happens next. You don't have to be great at it. Just know what happens next. And then I'll never forget actually sitting with the founder of the Men's Warehouse, George Zimmer, and talking to him and going through things. And I was going through all my product knowledge. I was so proud of the thread counts and every stitch and this and that. And he looked at me dead in the face. He's like, Sean, excellent. He's like, the problem is 10% of your customers are going to care about 90% of your product knowledge. 90% of your customers are going to care about 10% of it. And the other 90 just want you to smile. They just want you to make them feel happy. They're going to buy a suit. Maybe it's for a wedding. Maybe it's for a funeral. Either way, it's not always great, right? So you just approach everyone the same way. So, yeah, in the meet and greet, Trey, when I think of it, all I think is the same thing you think is smile.
Right.
Is smile and be there. Same thing with the phone, right? We can feel you smiling through the phone. We know if you're angry when you pick up that phone.
Yeah.
So it's that same impression. So Trey, how often, because I'm wondering now, how often when someone meet and greets at the showroom level, is it actually that fresh of a contact where they haven't been in contact with them or referred or been online? Like, what does that still look like today as someone who lives it every day?
So I think it's less today than it's ever been, right? I think, and the reason I say that, I think customers are doing so much more of their research online. Now they may not be converting over to a lead, name, phone number, email address, but yet they are doing their search in YouTube, our website. They're looking around trying to find out, is this the vehicle I want? And I think what happens is, they narrow it down. And they're like, you know what? We want this, well, for example, this CRV. They're like, this is the car we want. Right? And they know it already. They've looked at YouTube, they've seen the walk rounds, they've seen the test drives, they're like, I'm gonna love it. Yeah. And so really, for us as sales reps, it's like, let's just not mess it up. Yeah. Right? Let's not mess it
Don't
up.
overthink it. Your customer knows more than you know about the car they're coming in for. I don't care who you are. 9 times out of 10, the customer's like, dude, just can we drive it? Can we? Yeah. Right.
It's like, you know what? It's like, like we used to always talk about, but it's like when that customer comes on, when that customer steps in the dealership, what we've been trying to share with our sales staff is there's a high probability they're here to buy. When I think about when I first started in the car business, and that was years ago, that we use that phrase kicking tires.
Yep.
The customers were visiting multiple dealerships. I don't know what the numbers were at that time, but I can rest assured that it was 3, 4, 5, right? Because they would have their
front seat, baby, the front seat with all the newspapers and the Auto Trader mags and everything circled and shit. Car's clean. It's got like a quarter tank of gas. Maybe if you're the first store, if you're the last store, it ain't got no gas in it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this is how but this is the things that you had to be paying attention to, Trey, right? Like when you went and appraised a trade, my boss was like, how many things are in the front seat? What's the inside of the car like? Is it washed? Is it ready? What's the deal? And you're just like, I don't know, and now how many people really go out of their way to a dealership on a Saturday now and are like, let's just kick 4 hours kicking tires, maybe thinking about buying a car.
Right.
I don't believe it.
And like, it's got to be probably the last 4 years. I stepped in a customer's car to appraise it. Passenger seat had, multiple booklets with salesman's cards stapled to it. I thought I stepped back in time. I was like, was this a time machine?
Like the CRV, the Highlander,
exactly,
the Equinox, right? And
right. I was like,
they don't even make those things anymore, do they?
I was like, this is cool, but
Awesome.
but you don't see that anymore. I mean,
No.
so it's like when that, the whole kicking tires thing is thrown out the window.
Yep.
Now when customers walk on our showroom floor, and also when they send a lead over, but for sure when they step across that showroom floor.
For sure when they step across the floor. Agreed. And people who do that, right? I would have said that about mattresses, Trey, but apparently you bucked the trend on that one. I really thought if you went in and met a rep, you'd have just closed up shop and been like, sweet, send it to the house, get rid of the old one, let's party. But it doesn't sound like you did that. So now I'm like questioning everything I know.
Hey, the price of a mattress is almost as much as a Corolla right now, so I got it.
And that financing sucks again, right?
Yeah,
It used to be like 0% for the rest of my life. Come buy your furniture. Now the fine print's like 7.99 for 72 months, and you're like, "Fuck that deal."
Exactly. When I was looking at the prices, I was like, "Whoa, okay." But
and they walk you through it, aren't they good at that? Where they're like, lay on this one. You're like, "Oh, okay, nice," and then nicer. You lay on the last one, you're like, God, this is heaven. She's like, cool. Flips the price, and you're like, going back to hell, folks.
That's right. And she presented the price in front of me like, no worries, like, hey, you're right. I'm showing confidence, right? I'm here.
Yeah. But it all happened. The reason you allowed it to happen, the reason you went through the process is because you were initially greeted that way.
Right.
It's because you allowed yourself, you said you were disarmed.
Mm-hmm.
Almost immediately. And buying a car, we've got to find the brevity to do that. I can't tell you how many times people would say to me out on the lot looking at a car, you'd walk up. It's always the most awkward moment in the world when they see you coming, they know you're coming. Right. And you walk up and you're like, how you folks do today? And they kind of like, what do I need to buy? And it's like, I didn't ask that. I asked how you were doing today. And they say, we're just looking. I say, I'm just showing.
That's right.
What are we showing and looking at? But Trey, when how do you coach your newest members of the team on the meet and greet of today, because of the way that you and I were raised, the things that we've been talking about now really it doesn't apply as much. What does that conversation look like to your newer sales staff, or even the ones you believe need to improve that part of the game?
The first thing that I like to share with them is like what we kind of talked about earlier. It's just like you have a high probability of selling a customer a car when they're getting out of their car and they're walking across that showroom floor. So it's like, yes, carry that enthusiasm, carry that excitement, because the chances are is you're going to be able to assist the customer. But on the flip side of it is that we've been training for a while now. We didn't want to get too complacent with the way the market was, right? Because it was easy to fall into being order takers because the competition, there was low competition, right? Yeah. It wasn't like the customer was like, you got a RAV4, we'll take it. It used to be, we want a white RAV4, we want the leather, we want the sunroof, and we got to have it, today. Now it's like, I can have that car to you in 2 months or a month and a half. And the customer's like, great, we'll wait, right? So everything kind of changed. But in the same token, it's like, when the customer walks in, now we have to let's sit down with them. Let's find out the purpose for coming in. What were they looking for? But regardless of if that customer buys a car from us or not, let's make sure that when they leave this lot, that they have a positive experience of what just happened. Because I think that is one of the most important things, is especially when we're in a small town, we want to make sure that when the guest leaves, whether they buy from us or not, that they're going to think, you know what, when I am ready to buy, I'm going back to this dealership and I'm going back to see X salesperson. And so that's what I'm trying to train the salespeople on our meet and greet, is like, hey, let's make sure that we let that customer know that we want to take care of them. And that is our job. Right? We always joke about it. Yep, we want to be clean. We want to make sure that we're not out there shirt tails out. We're dressed to impress. We're greeting the customer with a smile. Maybe we're throwing out a compliment. We're We're not, insulting the customer. We're not making them feel like they're a waste of our time. We're making them feel like, you know what, you are the most important, use of our time at this moment, because we want to, provide a high amount of service to you. So I think those are the things that, we're working on trying to, train sales reps on, newer sales reps on.
And I think newer sales reps need to understand that as much as it has been a no problem, yes, let's do the deal today, there's going to be now a lag to that. You're going to go back to having to follow up with people. You may not find people making the decisions as quickly because the supply is there now to some extent, right? At some level, there are more cars in the market, right?
Yeah, right.
So we have to be patient with that. I love the fact that you say that no matter what, win, lose, or draw today, they have to leave here feeling positive, right?
Right.
Because once again, that's an evolution of who we were raised to be in this business, Trey. So I commend you beyond belief for even being able to do that with yourself, because I find a lot of guys who've been doing it as long as you and I have just get stuck in the idea of now.
Right.
And I always used to joke with my guys, hey, we're going to be open next month. So it's, it's going to be okay. You're like, yeah, I know you might hit your commission or might not, whatever, but keep following up, because next month I need you to sell cars too, and the month after that. So it isn't just about today. What would you say is something you see go just terribly wrong with a meet and greet?
I think that, yeah. So it's maybe you caught somebody in the middle of a smoke, right? That's always the dangerous one. I really think this is bad. Customer pulls up, gets ready to get out of their vehicle, and there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 salespeople standing in a huddle. It might have just been a minute before they conquered, but
doesn't matter.
It just looks terrible. The customer pulls up and they're just like, even if they're going to greet them with the biggest smile and welcome them, but the customer still gets that impression like, do I really want to get out of the car right now? Like, should we just circle around the block and maybe come back later? It's the vultures waiting to pounce, and it's like that's an area where it can go completely wrong. And then maybe like the third is just preparation. It's not asking the guest name. It's not finding out, some cool information about the customer. Do they live locally? Where do they work?
A brief needs analysis, a quick dig in.
There's opportunity to build some common ground right out the gate. Right?
Yeah, with what they're driving, who they walk up with, who they don't walk up with, what they have on. You're wearing a Cowboys hat. I'm wearing my Car Biz hat. Like, I've got a hockey shirt on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and those are the things that every time I meet someone, I'm trying to see where I can make that connection just to get things started.
That's right. Because as soon as if I greet somebody and they're wearing a Cowboys hat, I already know when we were going to make a joke about you feel my pain. Right. And I'm going to be like, I feel your pain too, right? And if they're wearing a 49ers gear, I'm just like, oh, man. But we got something to talk about, and it just relaxes that customer, and they're just like, oh, you know what? This sales rep is a human. You know what? He is normal, because from the impressions of how they feel about how guests feel and customers feel about car salesmen, this is a way to put them at ease and make them feel more comfortable. And it makes the salesperson, in my opinion, feel more comfortable too.
I agree. I think salespeople too, because they can bring that awkwardness with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they're not comfortable with that initial meet and greet, then that's going to happen. And that just compounds itself. And you not that you can't recover from it, but to your point, I think it's a lot easier to make a deal after a solid ass meet and greet than it is after a more than awkward one. That's what I would say. Absolutely. I would agree with that 100%. I think that's where the sale starts, from that initial impression. And it's either going to be a good one or a bad one. If it's a bad one, yeah, you may get the sale, but let's talk about it. You're probably going to have to shave some, you're probably going to have to cut the deal. You're going to have to give us some profit and some gross to make the guests happy. Where if it starts, positive and upbeat up front, your chances of having a quick sale, quick close is a lot better, in my opinion. A lot better. All right, we're coming up against it. So let's talk about the last part of it. I don't know how much you deal with in your world. I assume a little bit, but let's talk about the digital meet and greet. Trey, what do you recommend to your teams? What are your best practices for the meet and greet on the digital side today?
Well, I think they mirror, the two used to not be the same years ago. We've had these conversations before from when we both started. It was more focused on that customer walking through the showroom floor. It used to almost put the digital customer to the side, like, don't worry about them, waste of time.
Right.
But in reality, they both have equal value. So what we preach as far as, how we greet the customer on the showroom floor is really no different than how we greet the customer digitally. And so we want to carry that enthusiasm still, because we want to, it's hard. They get, the reps over there may get 70 to 90 leads a month that are digital leads. Sometimes they have conversations with the customer, sometimes they don't. But we do have to challenge them to have that same enthusiasm with all those leads, because they're all expecting that same level of service. And so,
are you using text? Are you using video? What are you finding right now in your space?
So we're using text. We use text opt-in, we're phone call, but where we've had a lot of success is we use video. Okay. We strive to, it's not perfect, but we do strive to have that initial lead get a video response from a member of the sales team, so they can see who they're dealing with. Hopefully they're smiling in that video, so they can obviously see, oh, you know what, that level coming from that sales rep. And then it does cause some kind of familiarity with the customer. I think it's best when we'll see a customer walk on the showroom floor, and then they ask for the sales rep, particular sales rep, and then we'll go grab them. And then they'll see them. They're like, oh, no need, they're right there. And the reason they know is because they matched them up with the video. And they're like, oh, they're right there. And I think that's pretty cool. It even happened to me one time, and I felt like a little celebrity. Like like there's like an automated video that went out, and then the customer came in, and they're like, Trey. And I was just like, hey, how are you? And we're having a conversation. I'm kind of like, where do I know you from? I'm trying to put the two together. And he's like, yeah, you sent that video, and I thought it was really cool. And I was just like, that's it. And for me, it kind of helped me see the power in video, and how I think that, as we move forward, I think that's something that dealers should really start to take a look at, how to utilize video when interacting with customers, and how much of an impact it can actually have.
I couldn't agree more. I think there's so much opportunity there. I think in pages, people's organic, social media presence, I think is another place that salesmen can get involved. And I don't think they really get that yet. And I'm not sure why. I think it's because it's not the initial sale. But, if I'm working at a dealership with social media and CRMs and BDCs and shit, things that didn't exist when I sold cars, I'd probably sell 50 a month. I'd probably be able to kick my feet up and not answer to anything, right?
Right.
Because there's this ability to do and brand yourself in such a different way. But it all comes back to smiling. It all comes back to energy and being the voice of reason, I think, is one of the other things that gets overshadowed, at least when you're looking to help someone buy something. Yeah,
and just one thing to add to it, Sean, also too, we're selling cars out of state, pre-owned vehicles. And, you can see the pictures online and they look good, but the pictures online are not as good as the video.
Yep.
And the reason why I think we're able to sell more is because we're telling the customer, we'll send you a walk around. So we use a company, but we go out there and we, use the walk around, and you send it back to the customer, and they're just like, oh, that just puts them at ease. They're like, okay, I can see the wheels, I can see the tires, I can see the interior, and it's so to come from 2 states over, 3 states over, 4 states over, I think I just want to see the utilization of video just increase. I think that's one way us in the auto business can get better, is taking advantage of technology like that we never had before. And we were good before.
We used to have to upload. We'd ask customers to upload pictures, Trey, and it takes 35 minutes for them to upload because they zoomed in on their tire and it's just a piece of the rim and there's not even what I needed, right? And I'm just sitting there waiting for it to download. And so now it's so much easier. We got guys doing Zoom walkarounds, right? Live time with the customer. Let's connect. Here's your car. Here's the inside. Here's that dent. Here's the whatever. Where when you and I grew up, you'd stand next to it then, or you know what I mean? Like it wasn't about the level of transparency that exists today. And that's what makes me happy is that we do have that level that exists, and it should exist. People should use more video. Trey, man, thanks a lot. This was exactly what I hoped it would be for people. I hope folks really listened up here. Lesson number 1 from Training with Trey is going to be all about the meet and greet. Trey, anything else to add before I let you go, man?
No, just one thing. I was thinking about what you said before, but when we started, we weren't shipping those cars out of state because they couldn't find them. The internet, they didn't have internet. They didn't have, they weren't searching cars like they're searching now. So that's why I'm like, always when reps are like, I'm just like, you do not see the value and the opportunity that you have now. So if there's anything for me to leave it with, it's just like, if there's anybody in sales right now, whether, you've been in sales for a while, or you're just getting in sales, or you're thinking about sales, now is a great opportunity to get into sales. Like it is a great opportunity with the technology we have. Like you said earlier, you can hit the ground running and be a double-digit salesperson overnight. And that just was hard to happen when I started.
And if you know how to use social media, it can extrapolate so quickly. It's just, we've got a guy who works for us now as our head of social, Jeff Hunter, and he'll tell you that the way he built his brand in Canada is by social. And he ended up building it for the whole dealership. They were in such a small community that people would walk in and be like, oh my God, Jeff Hunter, I want to work with you. He put the name of the database and it'd be Stu's deal.
Right.
So he'd have to go walk him over to Stu. And he's like, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? But it didn't stop him. He still built it. He expanded. And that is what, man, if I had it, I'd probably still be selling cars, man. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that because it's being an entrepreneur without any of the overhead, without any of the headache, without any of the heartache. It is, God, I love selling cars, Trey. I know you love selling cars.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad we're doing this. I look forward to the next time we do it, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on today. Folks, if you're looking for Trey is on LinkedIn, and he's all over the place there. He's always put up a nice post here and there, and now you're going to start seeing training with Trey as regularly as we can make it happen. Trey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, Sean. You have a great one.
Thank you. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you again next week. We're going to have some fun next week, as we always do on the show. Join us. Thanks a lot.